Okay, welcome and thanks for joining our webinar today, where we're excited to discuss how Tableau teams are accelerating data understanding. My name is Brian Zwallen, and I'm the SVP of Customer Success and Partner Relations at Arria, and I'll be your host for this event. So our agenda today is going to kick off with a little context around who we are as individual professionals and organization, and we'll discuss our solution to empower your organization with actionable insights to facilitate faster decision making. And we'll touch on our tech suite that shows the various ways you can deploy our solution that truly scales. And we'll jump into a live action demo today in Tableau. And then of course, we'll close out with those questions and answers. So first off, let me introduce my colleague, Douglas Kirk. Doug is our training and development specialist at Arria. He's working with us at developing the various success plan courses that are available at Arria Academy. You may have seen him on some of our Getting Started videos or our Quick Start videos, so you'll probably recognize his voice. Doug, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome everyone who's attending.
Cool. So a little bit about Arria. We're the recognized global leader in natural language generation, or NLG for short. We have the greatest concentration of expertise and 40 core patents with more pending. Arria's research center is located in Aberdeen, Scotland, with our primary business office in the United States, and we have regional offices worldwide. And our chief scientists, Dr. Ehud Reiter and Dr. Yaji Sripada, are two of the leading figures internationally in the NLG space. And they mentor a team of PhDs in artificial intelligence disciplines, such as NLG and data science. Arria NLG is an artificial intelligence technology in that it replicates the human process of expertly analyzing and communicating insights about your data. Using our solution provides your organization with accurate and consistently excellent, non-biased commentary at machine speed and massive scale. And in a recent Gartner report, they're stating that data storytelling helps decision makers engage with data and analytics by delivering insights in compelling forms. And 75% of stories are going to be automatically generated through technologies like NLG. So using Arria NLG, you deliver real actionable insights without the need for interpretation. And you gain efficiencies through the automation of analysis and writing of reports, and that frees up the valuable employees from doing those kinds of robotic tasks. And you achieve consistently excellent, non-biased commentary with the ability to scale and democratize knowledge throughout the organization. And with our out-of-the-box capabilities, you'll see a quick return on your investment. Our customers and our partners, they invent all kinds of ways to harness the power of NLG. And this slide speaks from a few of our customers on the value that they've realized using NLG. So first off, the BBC says in a one-click process, they were able to take raw data and automatically generate news stories at speed and scale. The Bank of New York Mellon significantly reduced the amount of time writing reports, freeing up their valuable employees to have more time interacting with customers. And Ernst & Young provides more accurate and consistently excellent reports for their customers, protecting their brand. If you navigate to our website by typing arria.com/everywhere, you'll find another list of use cases from customers and partners. So you just mouse over those tiles and you'll see their direct quotes for your review. And at Arria, we have this vision of NLG everywhere. So in order for us to empower organizations to expand their use, we've developed several channels where NLG can be accessed. It's all supported by Arria NLG Studio that sits on top of the stack. So for instance, if you're using our custom extension in a BI dashboard, whether that's Tableau or Power BI or TIBCO or Click or MicroStrategy, your data will flow from the dashboard through Studio, which is going to analyze the data, and then it passes the commentary right back into the dashboard next to the visuals. In just a few moments, we're going to look at Arria NLG Apps, which gives you the ability to create narratives without code. So you simply select a few dimensions and measures, you click a few configuration buttons, and Doug's going to walk you through all this, and then you select what type of analysis you're interested in. We'll also look at ReAnswers that's going to take this a step further. So if you're looking to drill down even more than the provided narrative, you can simply type your question and it will return in natural language. Now, Arria Connect allows your developers or our partners to connect our solution with many other systems, including your own bespoke solution. And Arria for RPA, or robotic process automation, allows you to build an end-to-end solution So you could potentially pull data together from disparate systems, and you can pass insights on that data to any presentation layer, including email. And there are 1.1 billion Microsoft installs, which equals to a lot of Excel users. Excel is not going away anytime soon. So with Arria for Excel, you're able to augment complex analysis with commentary directly embedded in the worksheet. And these add-ins for the dashboards in Excel, they're available today for you to try and download. So if you want to have some fun today, go to arria.com/technology-suite. I'll put that in the chat later on. You can go there, you can download one of these for a trial, 14 days, and you can use it. And then we've made this Arria NLG Studio very accessible and flexible. This diagram shows our flexible architecture and the simplistic approach of connecting through RESTful APIs. So you can see on the left side of the screen where the data sources are located, just connect through that RESTful API. The data is going to pass securely through an encrypted tunnel. It hits Arria Studio, which does the analysis based on your NLG model that you've either configured or a partner or we've configured for you. And then it's going to pass the commentary back through the RESTful API to whatever presentation layer of choice. You can see that we're not just working in dashboards, but it could be anywhere, output to a Word document or wherever you're going to consume that information. Okay, yep, we're up to the demo portion of this. So Doug, I'm going to pass this over to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. All right, welcome everyone. In this webinar, I'm going to demonstrate how Tableau teams are accelerating data understanding using Tableau version 3.0. As I demo this product, try to imagine your own data being displayed in this dashboard. Now, the first thing I want to do is point to where you can get our extensions, arria.com/bi-tableau, and here you'll see an introduction to it. Here's Arria apps and the different narratives that you can generate, and we'll be going through these along with ReAnswers. And then down below, you'll see where you can get started with your free trial. And of course, an introductory video. So that's where you can go to get started. If you were to navigate to the Tableau website and then go to the extension library, here you'll see Arria. So there's another place where you can get it. So that's where you can get the software. So now I'm going to start diving into it. This Tableau dashboard has several visualizations. So you can see them over here on the left side, some dynamic KPIs going across the top, and several tabs. So each one is telling a different story from a different perspective. But what sets this dashboard apart from other dashboards is, of course, the Arria NLG narrative that's to the right. It provides additional insights for faster decision-making in natural language, but it was not generated by a data analyst. It was generated by Arria for Tableau at machine speed. And this non-biased NLG narrative was created without using any code. Arria for Tableau uses Connect, which Brian explained just a bit earlier, which provides a very user-friendly interface for Arria apps. Basically, you walk through a wizard in order to configure your narrative, and then it provides value for you in minutes. So it truly is disruptive technology when you consider what might be involved in creating a narrative using a programming language. You'll be able to choose from 8 analytical narrative models that you can customize. So here I'm going to give you a quick link to them. Here's a description of all 8 narratives, and I refer to them as models because you can customize these. Each narrative has options to control the content. We're going to focus on how you can customize them, change the focus of the narrative, and when to choose each type. So here's all 8 of them. The first one you see is descriptive statistics, very popular one. It does an excellent narrative that drills down into your data. You see 2 variance type narratives, time-based and target-based, a trend analysis and a ranking analysis that will analyze a measure according to time. And then you see 3 narratives that focus on charts, but we also want to emphasize that you don't have to use them just to analyze the data that's shown in a chart, because they work very well independently on their own. And of course, our goal is to generate the types of narratives that businesses need to immediately provide value. So this list is going to continue to grow as we listen to our customers. In fact, this one, the trend analysis and the ranking analysis, are our two newest ones. And as businesses continue to use our product, we'll add to this list as people say, we could really use an analysis that does this. And each one is a model that you can change on your own. We're going to look at two different interfaces. So right now I'm looking at the web version, which is most likely the user interface that your users will see. Then we'll look at the Tableau desktop client, which is where you actually create these yourself. So I'm going to start off here with the Explore NLG Apps tab that you see. This tab displays several charts with an out-of-the-box narrative to the right to provide some deeper understanding. It's using the descriptive statistics narrative and it identifies the product that contributed the most. So here you see it. Karadian is the product that contributed the most and provides a dollar value for that. It then summarizes actual sales for each product. So here you see them: Routine, Ointmo, Neutrali, Karadian. So summarizes for each product, identifying the main contributing country within that product. And then it drills down into the actual sales by country, as you see here. And then it analyzes by country, and within each country, identifies the most significant product. This level of detail cannot really be grasped just by looking at the charts to the left. And it might take a considerable amount of time to generate this kind of analytics. So the goal is not just to see numbers in the dashboard, but instead it is to understand the main contributors to those KPIs, identify trends, and provide valuable insights that promote faster decision-making. So this narrative was created on the fly, it's scalable, and no code was required. Now, of course, you also have the ability to drill down into your data. For example, it identified Karadian as the main contributing product. So here we see it over on the left side. Now, if I click on Karadian here and isolate it, you see my KPIs updated, and so did my narrative. So there's not another narrative hiding behind the scenes. This is dynamic analytics. When you click on a particular product, the narrative is rewritten with a new focus and a different data set. So I also want to point out that there's a year filter here, and I'm looking at only 2020. So I could add additional years to this, my numbers would update, and so would the narrative. And then, of course, you have this ability to drill down into the data. So I'm going to switch over to the desktop version of this. Here you see the original narrative, and I'm going to do it again in the desktop version. So here we click on Karadian, and you can see the data. Now I'm going to keep that there. There we go. Here is the data that was used. For the main contributing numbers, you see just these rows. Here is the full data. It's using 298 rows, but keep in mind, I've drilled down into Karadian only. There's a lot more records than that. So if I take away the drill down, and those of you who are familiar with Tableau will know this, if I go to data and then view data, you see that there are actually 2,191 rows. But when I drilled down in Karadian, it went to 298 rows. My narrative is dynamic. It's doing analytics on the data set selected. So that gives you a good idea of what's under the hood, what's actually happening when you drill down into the data. Your narrative updates, it's rewriting the narrative based on the data that you have selected. So hopefully you're impressed. Now, over to the right, you see the narrative. Now, I'm in the desktop version, not in the browser. When you click in the top right-hand corner and see the three dots, I can now go into NLG Apps and take a look at what's under the hood. I'm just pointing out you also have the ability to go into ReAnswers from this narrative and ask questions. We'll do that in a little bit. So I'm going to switch to NLG Apps. Here you see the narrative itself. And this is using Connect to display this in a very user-friendly atmosphere. So here you see the dimensions, product and country, and there is my measure, actual sales. If I go into options, this shows you how the data was ranked. So it's using the selected attribute order, which means the order that we saw in the previous step. And The narrative is actually quite verbose. It went into each country and each product because of this option. Tell me how to say it. So tell me everything was selected. If I just wanted the most important things in my narrative, this is just one of the several ways you can customize the narrative. So I'm changing the configuration. Click generate, and now my narrative is updated. It's not going over every product in every country. It's going over only the most significant contributors to those KPIs. So now we're doing just the important things. So this shows off a little bit of the ability to change the narrative, and we're going to create one from scratch in just a little bit. So I'm going back over to the web version, and let's take a look at some of these other tabs. So for each one, I can go back and forth between the web version and the desktop. So on the Analyze Sales Performance tab, we now see this again is the descriptive statistics narrative, which we just saw earlier, but this time we're analyzing profit instead of actual sales. Next to it, we see a time-based variance narrative. This is contrasting actual sales for Q3 and Q4. So it's showing that actual sales actually declined by 3.2 million. Now, what the narrative does is it drills down into your dimensions, and the first dimension listed was product. So here we see an analysis of that drop in actual sales, and it's listing those contributors: Neutrali, Karadian, and Oitmo. So it's identifying the three most significant contributors to that drop. And you can go into the configuration and identify, why was it 3? And we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. Here we see target-based, and this, of course, is contrasting two different measures, actual sales and target sales. And again, you have the option to decide, well, how many contributors should I list? So here we see the 3 most significant contributors contrasting actual sales and target sales. Okay, I'm going to move over to Analyze Trends and Ranking. These are our 2 newest narratives. And again, we're analyzing actual sales. The first one is the Trend Analysis app, which generates a narrative that analyzes the changes in the trend of a specific measure, that of course is actual sales, over time. It'll highlight significant shifts and then drill down through multiple dimensions to explain those shifts. So as you look at this chart above, you can see that sales dropped, it rose, it dropped, it rose. You can look at the graph above it and you get it. You can see the actual trend changes. What the narrative is doing is providing additional insight. As you see each drop, what actually happened? It drills down into it and identifies what was contributing to that drop. So here we see October to December, which identifies this trend right here. It looks like it might be 2, but these are 2 continuing in the same direction trends. So it's 1 in the narrative. So it's identifying those trends, October to December, December to October, and August to September. And in each one of these, it's identifying what actually happened in that trend shift. And you note that the graph above it does not include products. The narrative does. So in the configuration of this narrative, we included product. If you want even more information, you can include country. This narrative will get even more verbose and provide even more detail. So the more dimensions that you include in the configuration, the more detail you'll get in your narrative. So that, again, is a way that you can contribute to the configuration and really help it out. Next to it is a ranking analysis app. And in this one, the app generates an analysis of changes in the ranking of dimensions, in our case, country, over time as they relate to a measure, again, actual sales. So here you can see, well, actually it's not easy to tell from this chart. If you looked at this over the whole year of 2020, which country was in the lead the most? It's not easy to tell. That's what the narrative does. So there were several changes. The top ranking, the US was most frequently ranked at the top for 3 months out of the 12. And then down below, it's actually identifying those that were the least frequently ranked. And it was, quite volatile. So you see the United States is actually listed in both. And that's the case. That just happens to be how the data worked. And then if you switch to a different year, you'd see the narrative update again. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you don't think this narrative is providing enough detail, again, add another dimension. I could add product to the dimension. So it shows that during these 3 months, it was the US, but what products were contributing to that, the fact that they were most highly ranked. So that's, again, is how dynamic your narratives can be. Next, I'm gonna move over to described charts. Your described chart narratives, of course, complement the chart that's above them, but keep in mind they are not analyzing the chart. They are analyzing the same data that was used in this chart. So it's not analyzing a graphic. This is analyzing data. This is analyzing the same data. So let me move over. In my notes here, of course, I have a pie chart which analyzes one measure, in our case, cost of goods sold, by one dimension, which of course is market in this case. Next, we have a bar chart analyzing a measure, actual sales. I can do more than one measure, over combinations of dimensions. Here we see products at the bottom and markets across the top, providing analytics on any variances. The drill down narrative provides detail for the main contributors. So you see that they are departmental, brand store, and online. And it drills down into the products within those 3 markets. So it's providing that kind of analysis. But as you look at it, you can see that it's analyzing by market. If I were a product manager, I might want to see this same analysis by product. So let's switch over to where I can modify this. I'm going to go over to describe charts. Here is the same narrative. So now that I'm in the desktop version, I might want to see this by product instead. So we saw this earlier. I click on the 3 dots. I can go into NLG apps, and I can go into the configuration of this narrative. Here you can see why market was listed first. It's simply a priority. So if I click on product, drag it to be first, now it's going to give priority to product over market. There's my same measure again. Go into options. It's telling me just the important things, which looks good to me. I'll click generate. Now the whole narrative has been updated. Actual sales for these 6 products, not markets. And then it drills down into product, and then within each product, it analyzes market. This might be much more useful for a product manager. So that's how easy it is to change the actual configuration. Again, keep in mind that these narratives can be used beyond charts themselves. They provide excellent drill down capabilities. Oh, and finally to the right, we see the line chart app. And the line chart app analyzes measures, in our case, profit, over combinations of dimensions, month and market, over time. So here you can see, and this one does excellent analytics when you have a time component within your configuration. It's doing a trend analysis over that period of time variance analysis. It provides the main offsets, and it shows correlations, meaning showing which markets were moving in a similar pattern. So brand store with channel partners, brand store with chemists, brand store with departmental. So an excellent time analysis is available in the line chart app. So finally, I'm going to switch over to configure NLG apps. And again, I'm in the desktop version rather than the web, so I can go ahead and create one from scratch, which is what we're going to do now. So we haven't done that just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, either click the X or choose remove from dashboard. So now I've got some prime real estate over here on the right side, and I'm going to show you how this is done. How do you create one from scratch? So over in the bottom left-hand corner, you have your objects. You have the option of tiled versus floating. I'm going to choose floating, which means I have control over placing this exactly where I want to put it. I'm going to double click on extension, go to my extensions, and then you find the .trex file. That is the Arria extension for Tableau. Where you get it? The website that I showed earlier before. So you would download it. You can get a free trial, download this file, and then you store it, wherever you want to store it. Mine is actually my documents folder. And I'm going to choose open, and I get the placeholder for my narrative. So I'm going to move it over here, resize it a little bit, and place it exactly where I want it in my dashboard. Okay, so now it's just a matter of logging in. Great. Now, the first step you're going to need to do is choose configure your data. You notice that these three are grayed out because I haven't identified my data source yet. So I'm going to go ahead and choose configure your data, and you see a drop-down menu of data sources, which is represented over here. So here we see one called data for narrative. We created this one because it includes every dimension and every measure. This would be great if you're configuring ReAnswers, where you want to ask questions about every field available. And in that case, you might turn on something like this, turn on every field and every measure. But in our case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a target-based variance narrative. So I'm only going to identify specific fields in our case. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn those on. So let me grab product, market, and country. And then for a target-based variance, I'm contrasting two measures. So I need to have two measures selected, actual sales and target sales. I'll go ahead and click Save. Now I've identified my data source. So I use that one. Now I'm just going to go into NLG Apps, which is now available. It lights up. And I'm going to choose a target-based variance. So this list is what we saw earlier on the web page, listing all 8 narrative types. Just keep in mind that each of these narratives have specific requirements. So like a time-based variance narrative, of course, requires an element of time. Target-based variance will require 2 measures. So here are my dimensions: country, market, and product. For each one, you now have the ability to customize each field. So if I wanted to create an alias for a specific field, you could. Also, you might want to identify a country is actually a location. It'll use specific language when it refers to a country that's identified as a location. Market and product, I'm going to keep the defaults. Actual sales, since it's a measure, you have some other options available. You can give it an alias just like the other fields. In this case, I'm going to choose that is a currency item to be displayed in US dollars, and identify with actual sales. Then an increase, of course, is good. If I were tracking cost of goods sold, I might choose bad, or expenses would be bad. So keep that and identify it with the default as good. Here's target sales, and I'll do the same currency, US dollars, and they're good. So now I'm just going to move into the last step. So in the last step, we have our narrative options. This is a target-based variance, so it's contrasting 2 specific measures. Then under entity selection, I have 2 options. I can choose the top option, and I believe it was country that was listed first. By choosing one, it would identify one country as it defines that variance. Or I could choose something like 3. I'm going to go ahead and preview what that will do. So here's actual sales versus target sales. 3 countries: France, China, and there's Mexico, because I chose 3 countries or 3 entities here. So of course that is the top option. It's a hard-coded number. So if you have a specific number in mind, go with top. Your other option is coverage. Coverage is a little bit more calculated, a little bit more AI driven. So if you have a lot of countries or a lot of products, you might want to choose a percentage. Identify a percentage that these entities must contribute up to a certain percentage in order to be listed. So if I were to choose a low number, my preview updates, how many do I have? 2, France and China. If I go up with a higher number, my preview updates, France, China, Mexico, Germany. 5, United Kingdom. So here you can see it's a little bit more AI driven. You identify a percentage to be used as a calculator for that coverage. So that's how the coverage works. I'm just going to go with something a little bit more in the middle here. And then of course you have that option, tell me how to say it, summary, important things, or tell me everything. We saw tell me everything before that would use all of the dimensions that were listed. So I'm going to keep it with important things, click generate, and there is my narrative. So at that percentage, I believe it was 48%, these are my 2 countries that contributed up to 48% in that variance between actual sales and target sales. So that's how it works. That's how you create a narrative from scratch. What I'll do next is I'm going to swap over to my web version and introduce ReAnswers. So this is bundled with Arria apps. If you have a nagging question that hasn't been answered by any of your narratives yet, now you have the ability to use ReAnswers. It's also important to note that you want to include all the time elements and all the field elements that you would want to be allowed in a question. I'm going to include 2021. So you see my numbers are going to update. And here we see some suggested questions. So with these 2 years selected, maybe describe the total variance by month in this particular year. That's a suggestion. Go ahead and click Ask. It analyzes the back-end data and gives me an answer. June is a major outlier when comparing to all these months, accounting for, and there's my amount. So that gives you an idea of how you can ask a question based on the suggestions. I'm going to go ahead and clear that conversation. And I'm going to start asking some of my own questions. Like which product is a dimension, it's in my drop-down menu, so I'll click it, had the highest actual sales, which is a measure in my data set, so I can just click it, which had the highest actual sales in Q1 of 2021. I'll type the question mark, it's not necessary. I'm just doing it for visual purposes because the question mark's understood. And the only product with, must have a filter applied. 1 second. It's saying the only product is Caradian, and now we know why. There's always a logical reason for everything. So I'm going to turn off my filter, going back to all products, switching back to ReAnswers. Here we go. I'm going to ask that same question again. Which product had highest actual sales in Q1 2021? All right, the top product was Camoweed, accounting for 8.15 million or 46% of sales. So you saw what happened with me? There's a logical reason for any time something like that happens. I had my data filtered on Caradian, so of course it only listed Caradian as a product. Let's move on. What are actual sales month on month? This is a powerful question because it has to know what is the current month. This is called a temporal variance query, which will analyze how much a measure has changed over a period of time. So month on month, this is June. It's comparing to last month, which is May. Actual sales actually decreased by 4% this month compared to last month. It doesn't actually have to state which month because we know which month it is. And then finally, what drove actual sales versus target sales? So I might want to know whether I hit my targets or not. For Camoweed, which we just identified as the most significant contributor, I'll ask what drove the actual sales versus target sales for Camoweed last month? And here we'll get our answer. In May, actual sales for Camoweed were higher than target sales by 30%, driven by Germany. So it's a very good answer. It provides that kind of analytics for you on the fly. So now you can see how the combination of intelligent narratives and ReAnswers together can promote faster decision-making in real time. You take a look at your data set, it's scalable, it analyzes your data. But if maybe you need to consider how much time would actually be required for a data analyst to discover these kinds of insights. We did it, at machine speed. A couple of things to note about the language that's used. ReAnswers will always properly state your data and use the proper linguistics. Even a country name, like the United States or Germany, it didn't say the Germany, that's used when I refer to the United States. So it knows when to insert the word the in front of specific countries. If a value that's returned is 0%, you can expect the response to use proper phrasing like there are no values at this time, rather than providing an answer like 0%. So this is a level of expectation you can have when you're using with Arria NLG. It will conjugate words properly, and as your data changes, the proper linguistics will be used too. Finally, we get to the last tab, which is Explore Custom Narratives. This tab shows you that if your needs exceed an out-of-the-box solution, you can talk to an Arria representative about obtaining a studio license, where you will then have complete control over the structure and every word of a custom narrative like this one. And we also, as Brian was mentioning before, we have many outstanding examples of custom narratives that have been used by different organizations and industries that deliver customized narratives to describe dynamic data that's scalable at machine speed. So with a custom narrative, you actually have the ability to choose every word that's in that narrative, and then you connect it to your dashboard using Arria apps.
Doug, I'll add one more thing to that. We have
Sure.
several, what we call it accelerators. They're pre-built NLG models. So if you're going down the custom path, you could potentially plug in one of these accelerators into your data to, help you develop your custom narrative.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Brian. A couple of last minute things to keep in mind. Your dashboards can be built for many kinds of data to provide insights into many types of businesses. So it can be HR data, sales data. We've seen dashboards for an IT department that's analyzing tickets. Very powerful. These narratives and Arria answers are really going to shine when it's analyzing your data. So you're looking at our examples here today, but keep in mind when you load this with your data, it's really going to shine a bit. Also, Arria NLG for Tableau is available for mobile devices, so you have that ability too. You can download it from your app store on your mobile device, and it'll be available there as well. It's also important to, as you think about your own dashboards, I'm sure they provide very useful KPIs, but the question is, do your dashboards provide insights? Do they deliver meaning and understanding? We hope that you now recognize that an Arria NLG no code required narrative can provide analytics and understanding for your dashboards at machine speed. I'll switch over to the desktop version and point out where can you get documentation. When you click on the three dots in the top right when you're creating your narrative, you can click right here. There is your link to documentation, and it provides how to get started, video tutorials, and how to configure this with your data. So in conclusion, you now know how Tableau teams are accelerating data understanding using Arria for Tableau 3.0. The real question is, how much time would it take to do this kind of analysis manually? Deploying this kind of artificial intelligence to your BI dashboards will allow your data analysts to focus on more critical tasks. Always remember that Arria will continue to add functionality to all of our technology. We just launched Arria for Tableau 3.0, and we're going to continue to add functionality as features as this disruptive technology continues to grow.